today's video, 7 things most doctors still get wrong about kidney disease in 2024. Catherine here, I'm a doctor of natural medicine, and let me tell you, something amazing has been happening lately. Not a single day goes by without me receiving emails and comments from you guys sharing how you've actually improved your kidney function. I'll read you a couple. These are just from the last few days. My GFR was 17 within 6 weeks, gone to 23. My creatinine was 1.05 and GFR of 59 after 3 months. Creatinine down to 84 and GFR 77. I followed your videos and taking every day the acacia fiber and psyllium, vitamin D3 2000 IU, CoQ10 low dose, B complex, omega 3. Thank you for telling me about that vitamin deficiency. As soon as I started supplementing the vitamins, my GFR started to increase. I went from a GFR of 20 to 30 in 2 months after switching animal protein to plant-based. Okay guys, I think you can see for yourselves, CKD patients are improving their kidney function even by 50% in 2 months by following the diet I talk about in my videos and by taking a few select supplements. And every time I read these comments, I'm extremely happy. It shows that we're on the right path and it tells me I'm making a real impact for people who need it the most. So thank you for sharing your stories, and please don't ever stop sending those messages. They're an inspiration not only for me but for everyone following me here on Double O Kidney. But here's the problem. A part of me is not happy at all about this. And I tell you why. It's clear that you guys are following a strategy that is tested and true. A strategy that works because it's based on the renal diet. What's bad about that, you may ask? I mean, the renal diet works, right? Yes. And that's exactly my point. Why? Because while it's amazing that you're seeing results, it's frustrating that you've had to rely on a doctor of natural medicine you found on YouTube to get this information. This is information that should have been shared with you from the very beginning from your doctors. Your doctors should be the ones telling you about this. That's their job. Yeah, your doctors have one job. One job.
You have one job.
And yet, here I am, doing it for them. So this brings us to our number 7 in this list of mistakes your doctor is probably still making in 2024. Number 7, still considering the renal diet alternative medicine. Okay, I know this sounds crazy, but some doctors are still telling you that the renal diet is alternative medicine in 2024. I mean, I've also got at least one comment from one of my followers asking me, what do they call alternative medicine when it's been deemed useful? And I was like, what dude? Alternative medicine? What are you even talking about? I mean, that video was about the renal diet, and this person reacted like if I was telling CKD patients to go to see a chiropractor or to do some aromatherapy or acupuncture, which is really upsetting. It tells us how little people know about the conventional therapies for kidney disease. Because guys, what I talk about here has nothing to do with alternative medicine. The renal diet today is 100% conventional medicine. It has been conventional medicine for decades, which means that your doctor is supposed to tell you to follow this diet. But of course, considering the renal diet on the same level as chiropractic or stuff like that is a big, huge mistake. Many doctors, yes, not just patients, still make in 2024. And it's not even their fault. In fact, I don't have anything against doctors in general, nor against PCPs in particular. I will never tell you to go against what your doctor says. But for sure, I will tell you if they are wrong. I mean, doctors are not perfect, are they? They can make mistakes. And today, my goal is to make sure these mistakes are not harming you. So up next, our number 6 is trying to replace the diet with medications. Now guys, as I was saying, my goal here is not to make you think your doctor is not helping you or that medications do not work. Actually, the opposite is true. In fact, as some of you already experienced when doing a consultation with me, if you come here and tell me that your blood pressure is 170 over 100 and you are not taking your blood pressure medications, I will probably tell you politely yet firmly to take those prescriptions right here and right now in front of me. Yep, that happened. So yeah, make sure I don't catch you not taking your prescriptions. But you see, something else that makes me just as mad as people not taking medications is saying Big Pharma trying to replace your renal diet with pills. Yeah, can you imagine the discussion in the doctor's office? Hey, that kale and bean salad is not healthy for you. Take these 4 pills with a hamburger and a soda instead. Yeah, it sounds like a bad joke, but it's not. They are actually trying to take away the renal diet from us. In fact, here is a study that says that the diet is useless now. In fact, here's a study that says that the diet is useless now because we have Forxiga and ARBs and ACE inhibitors. And for some reason, so many doctors seem to know about this study. So let's take a look. The infamous study is titled Protein Restriction for CKD, Time to Move On. And their main point is basically that, and I quote, the data supporting a LPD were largely collected before widespread adoption of sartans and Forxiga. And since we didn't have those medications when most studies on the renal diet were made, it means we don't need to follow a diet anymore.
What?
Does that make sense to you? I mean, this is not just as unscientific as a study can be. It's also that dangerous kind of unscientific. Guys, do we tell people with hypertension to eat all the salt they want and to get some fries with that because we have blood pressure lowering medications now? No, we don't. Do we tell diabetes patients to stuff their face with pizza and ice cream every day because we have Ozempic now? I don't think so. So, why on earth would you tell someone with kidney disease to eat all the salt they want and to stuff their face with pizza and ice cream just because we have losartan and Forxiga now? Does that make any sense to you? Should I tell the people that left the comments we've seen in the beginning of the video to give up their diets because there is a new study that says they're not needed anymore? And yet, some doctors are doing just that. But telling someone to give up diet and good habits because there are medications available now is just like telling people to set their house on fire because we have the fire department. It almost feels like this study came from the evil mind of some big dialysis corporation that's planning to open some new dialysis clinic. And I still want to think that these researchers were in good faith here, even if at least one of the 3 researchers conducting this study is on the payroll of one of the biggest dialysis corporations, DaVita. Okay, up next, number 5, let's talk about one of the most common mistakes some doctors still do when actually enforcing a renal diet. Number 5 is forbidding high potassium fruits and vegetables. Okay guys, it's clear in my opinion that telling CKD patients to eat less fruit and vegetables is never a good strategy. I mean, there are large, very authoritative reviews of studies telling us that it's when a CKD patient starts to eat more fruit and veggies that they can see an improvement. Yeah, low protein, high amount of fruit and vegetables means stable or even improved kidney function, says science. This is confirmed by my first-hand experience as well. But unfortunately, forbidding certain fruits and veggies was basically the de facto approach to the renal diet up until about a few years ago, and for some doctors, it still is. And the reason potassium. Has your doctor ever told you that your potassium is too high and because of that you need to limit bananas and tomatoes? Well, that's as wrong as it gets when it comes to medical advice, and let me explain. While it could seem very reasonable to think that eating more potassium equals to more potassium in blood, well, human biology rarely is that simple. We know for a fact today that there are several medications why a patient may have too high serum potassium that have nothing to do with how much potassium they eat. Do you know what the most common reason for high potassium levels in CKD patients is? No, it's not eating too many bananas. It's taking ARBs and ACE inhibitors, the default prescription for high blood pressure in CKD. So they remove fruit and veggies from your diet that are known to help with high blood pressure, by the way, and they replace them with medications that will make your potassium literally skyrocket. Now, another very common reason for high potassium levels is metabolic acidosis, or having too much acid in your body. And this mostly happens when a CKD patient is eating too much high protein foods. You know, meat, fish, dairy, that kind of stuff, and too little vegetables. So yeah, eating steak is way more likely to cause your potassium to raise than eating potatoes. The third very common reason for high potassium levels is actually constipation. Now guys, I know that me recommending you to eat plums, to use a fiber supplement, and to drink more water in order to reduce your potassium levels may seem a little bit unusual at first, but you see, these recommendations are not something I made up. These are coming from the most recent guidelines for the treatment for CKD. This is basically the rule book nephrologists and healthcare providers in general must follow when treating a CKD patient. So yeah, if you are constipated, your potassium may become too high. And this happens because potassium needs a lot of time in order to be absorbed from your gut. So the more the time what you eat spends down there, the more the chance for high potassium levels. And this is why eating less high potassium foods, aka fruit and veggies, may actually increase your serum potassium levels. So my opinion here is that we should tell patients to focus more on those fruit and veggies that are low in potassium, but without forbidding high potassium fruits and veggies. And guys, if there is one thing that some doctors get even more wrong compared to the diet, it's supplementation. Let's talk about that. Number 4, doctors only considering drugs and zero supplements. Okay, if you went to your doctor asking for advice about supplements for kidney health, they would probably tell you something like, no, don't take anything at all. If it worked, it will be a medicine, not a supplement. Always with that patronizing tone of voice that makes you regret even asking. And again, I'm not blaming the doctors. It's clear that there is a systemic problem here. In fact, if you get to a point where your doctor is forbidding you from taking anything that doesn't come in an orange peel box, it's clear that things are not fine. I'll give you a practical example, alright? Which is not taking cranberry extract with Farxiga. Guys, if your doctor tells you to take Farxiga, tell them you want some cranberry extract as well. And what's that for, you ask? Well, let me explain. So let's talk again about Farxiga, because this is an incredibly effective medication for some CKD patients, but it doesn't work for everyone. And it cannot be prescribed when GFR is too low. However, for patients in stage 3, it's amazing, especially if diabetes and proteinuria are also present. So it's not for everyone, but for some patients, it really works. It comes with one big problem though, a serious, painful, and common side effect. It may cause urinary tract infections. And how do we even treat that, you ask? Well, with antibiotics. And this poses an even bigger problem. Antibiotics cause kidney damage. Yeah, looks like you are stuck between a rock and a hard place. How do we solve that issue? Well, with cranberry extract. There is in fact a very large Cochrane review of studies supporting the use of cranberry products in people suffering from UTIs. Yeah, this stuff really works. It has basically no side effects and it can be useful to prevent the recurrence of UTIs. Now, if only we could just recommend cranberry extract to patients taking Forxiga. But of course, your doctor will never do that. And no, not because antibiotics are safer. They are not safe. Just because of this systemic mistrust in supplements. So, do we have to wait for some pharma brand to patent a version of Forxiga that comes with cranberry extract already in the package before we can solve this issue? Wait, that will be a great idea. I mean, they could charge a lot of money for something like that, and your doctor would totally love it as well. Amazing! Everyone is happy except the patient, of course. That's gonna pay even more for their medication. Or, you could just take cranberry extract with your Forxiga prescription, and the only ones upset will be the shareholders. Okay, moving on. Next big issue. Number 3, not considering other effective supplements. Okay guys, the other reason why I was telling you to take cranberry with Forxiga is a very recent study, a human randomized controlled trial that was actually done in Italy about this extract combination of a supplement and a medication. Of course, what they found out is that the combination works. And there's a big fat chance that at some point, some pharma corporation will actually be able to take that to the market. And now you may ask, what about other supplements that actually work? And that maybe doctors are not recommending just because they are told to only prescribe medications? Well, of course, the best example here is omega-3s. Guys, there is not a single reason in the world not to supplement some omega-3s if you have CKD. Omega-3s help with inflammation, with blood pressure, with cholesterol, with diabetes, brain health, and, well, the list goes on. There is actually a huge amount of research, probably more than any other supplement, supporting the use of omega-3s in CKD patients. This is why in many countries with universal health care, patients often receive a prescription for omega-3s. Now, another example of supplements your doctors should know about is probiotics. Emerging research supports the use of certain strains of probiotics for reducing uremic toxins production in CKD, which means your gut can help remove some of the toxins your kidneys usually handle. This will in turn reduce the workload on the kidneys. And this is a huge benefit which comes with basically no side effects. And don't even get me started about renal multivitamins. And of course, there are more supplements like this. I have actually made a video recently just to rank the most commonly used supplements. It's up here if you missed it. Okay, up next, number 2, not informing the patient soon enough. Okay guys, do you know what happens when I start talking to a new patient who has been diagnosed with stage 3 kidney disease? I'm happy for them. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. What kind of person is happy when someone has kidney disease? But please, hear me out, because in a world where people often don't get diagnosed until stage 4 or 5, stage 3 feels like spotting the sparks in the wall socket before the whole house is on fire. Let me explain. Of course, being diagnosed with a chronic kidney disease is never a good thing. It's not something I would wish upon anyone. But do you know what's a million times worse? Being diagnosed with stage 5 kidney disease. And this happens all the time. There are 5 stages of kidney disease. Stage 1 being your kidney function is still high enough we don't even know you have anything at all. And stage 5 being, oh no, you need to prepare for dialysis. Here's the kicker. For most people, symptoms don't really make an appearance until late stage 4. So, unless you happen to be a fan of regular lab work or have a doctor who's really on the ball, you could be completely unaware that there is already a problem. And suddenly, bam! You're at stage 5 and you are told to start to think about dialysis. It's like waking up one morning to find out your house has burned down and you missed all the smoke signals. Now, this is not your doctor's fault. This is a systemic problem. The system is designed for dealing with the aftermath, not for prevention. It's like the fire department showing up only when the whole building is ash. We've got a healthcare system that's great at crisis management. They've got the hoses, they've got the sirens, and that's all they know how to use. Speaking of which, probably the most serious mistake I always see happening is, number 1, forgetting about complications. So this is basically the only thing that's even worse than not telling someone they have CKD. Now guys, the very first thing that I do whenever I start seeing a new patient that has stage 4 or 5 CKD is looking at their lab reports and comparing them to the medications this patient is taking. That's the first thing, alright? I do that even before reading your name on top of your chart because, in my experience, patients that are not receiving adequate treatment for the complications of CKD are those most at risk for ending up in dialysis. And this happens all the times. I've consulted for hundreds of patients and I can count on the fingers of one hand how many of them were receiving appropriate treatment for all the complications of CKD they were suffering from. I see patients with anemia that are not being prescribed iron nor vitamins, not to mention ESAs. I see patients with metabolic acidosis not taking sodium bicarbonate. And do you remember what that may cause? Yeah, high potassium levels. And I see patients with high phosphorus that are destroying their thyroid and bones because none of the 4 different doctors they are seeing thought about the calcium carbonate prescription. Now, if you want to make sure this is not happening to you, consider sending me an email and book a consultation so I will be able to help with that. Or if you want to learn more about this issue, watch my video up here, and this is all for today. Thank you for watching. God bless you all. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye. Ciao.